Hello miners, Rusty coming at you. Today we're going to take a look at a Remette knife. This is a Remette wild species, and Remette reached out to me and asked me to do a review on this, so yay! It's a kind of a newer knife of theirs, and last I saw it, I think just took a peek today. It was like $58 or $56 with 30% off coupon. Anyway, you can pick her up somewhere close to 40, and we'll go over that, let you guys know. You guys can make up your own mind what you think it's worth. But Remette to me is a brand that's been on the rise for a couple years, and I did pick up one of their what they call the rhinoceros, and it was okay. This one, first impressions, I like a lot, and there's a couple things I don't. So let's talk about the knife. We have a G10 on this. It comes with green and also a neutral micarta, kind of the tan. It has some milling in there, has this jimped back spacer, which I don't know why it ends like it does, but it's got a little like cutout here if you want to get a lanyard in there. Nice sized liners. It's actually some really rough jimping. So it's a thumb stud deployment and a front flipper. I believe these are blue titanium. I'll have to double check. And they do this little hint of blue they're trying to do on there. So if we open it up, it's got a strong detent and some whack acoustics. And we'll take a peek. It's going to be a drop point blade. Got a top swedge. Got sort of a micro bead finish on here, and then more of a satinish finish on the flat. And I really do like that. Take a peek how your plunge grind comes down and your sharpening choil. And we'll do some comparison to some other knives just to let you know. 14C 28N. Doesn't have a deep carry pocket clip, but this is a nice one. It goes in actually good and comes out good, and it gives you the ability to grab a hold of it. So if you like to tug on your knife, you can get that done. Lockup is good. Again, a nice thick liner. And let's check out this action. Very nice. So doesn't go all the way on its own. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's talk about the deployment. I'm going to give them some feedback. These are too rounded. They work great, but first you have to get your thumb behind them. And again, it opens with some authority. But if you are, and you can see how it comes across here, I've been slipping on it a few times. Okay, it is a strong detent, and so you have to get your thumb in the right spot. I go kind of right there, and you gotta go all the way around. And you saw me miss a couple times, and that's some rough jimping. In my opinion, it's actually rougher than it needs to be. Does work here, and you can feel it. Well, let's talk about the ergos. For my hand, this is exceptional ergos. You have this curve. You get your finger behind that hump there for my middle finger, and voila, it's really good ergos for me. It's the right thickness, something we'll talk about here in a second. And if we move up, you get this finger on the front side of this hump, and now we have nice move up position. Now people with hands smaller than mine, and I just on the small side of an XL glove, or people with bigger hands might not have the same experience. But for me, it's very good. Access to the lock bar is good. It's not great, but it has some. You got some room here, and tiny, maybe, yeah, you can. Okay, so what are you going to compare this to, Rusty? Well, we'll show you here. Forgot to mention, it does come in a nice felt lined. Sure. There we go. With a cloth and a tool. So we'll set that aside. Well, I think what I'm going to do is get out the Civivi Sokoke. They remind me a lot of each other, but this is something I prefer. These are higher thumb studs. They have, and whack. This has a nice action. The D10 doesn't feel as strong, but yeah, it's going to go. So we're going to compare those two real quick. Both are black G10, both are 14C 28N, and of course different blade shapes, about the same thickness except for at the tip. The Sokoke is much thinner. The Sokoke has like a full flat grind. This one is a saber grind. And then we'll compare G10, so we can get a peek at that. G10, I got the light working with me. You can see some what I'll call purposeful texture, and I mean, of course, this is on purpose as well, but it has to do more with just the material from underneath. Well, this kind of looks like, I don't know how they got that. It's real uniform and so on. Hardware looks good, and we have about the same thickness of liners. This one is inset. Oh, and I'm loving this. And what do we got here? Oop. Oh, just much better on the flipping action. I wonder if over time the you know, the detent will soften up and the action will loosen up a little bit. What do we want to do here? We're going to kind of compare thickness. So yeah, very similar, guys. One thing I want to say though, this is going to have thinner well, blade stock there. It comes down to a thinner edge, and then this one does not. It's not quite as thin. And I'm actually going to bring out another knife, which is a good thing for this knife, and that's the Rat 1. I want to compare these. Did you hear that? Bam! Whack! Okay. Not saying it's a Rat 1, but a couple years ago, when I first got into this and I had the Rat 1, it's a bit too large. I had the Rat 2, it's a bit too small. I wanted something in between. And when I got this Remette, it's just sort of like, this knife is done well. And what I mean is, it reminds me a little bit of the Rat. You know, we have, it's on the thick side, but not too thick. The pocket clips here are not deep carry pocket clips. We have the 14C blade, which if you were a Rat fan, you would just absolutely die for. I wish they, you know, they did these in Oz 8. The ergos are fine. You got a little bit more of a finger choil here. You have some, you know, you have some liners that will lock up. So, not saying it's the Rat 1, but if it comes down to it, between this one, that's a CRJB Echo, or the Remette, for this is more, this is an EDC, the Echo, and this is more, I mean, you can, it's kind of going to do more tasks. I think it's better built, heavier built in a way. So these will run 55, these will run 52 $2, the lowest I've been seeing them. And if you pick something like this up in the 40, I think it's a sweet deal. 14C, you know, you start getting into that $50 range. And for me, well, let's just compare some things. Yep, they have very similar jimping there, but this one, okay, this has got the best. It's got some soft jimping. It doesn't drop as good, but and then this one's rough. You gotta like follow all the way around. But anyways, guys, there's like kind of a comparison. That's a Remette Wild Species. You can get them at Amazon. I'll put a link in there for you. Thanks now. Hey, why don't we do some cut tests anyways, since we're out here. Let's see if we can get... Okay, it just falls away. My Civivi's not the factory edge. Alright, nowhere is my rat. Oh, I could have swore I thought I had this thing sharpened up. A little bit harder to do. Alright, and finally, factory edge on my... Alright, not cutting mustard right there. Yeah, that's a little bit, actually a little rough. So Remette does a nice comparable job. Anyways. Alright, folks. See if we get that. Thanks for tuning in.